Jagdtogger. So, for example, let's talk about gun rammers in German heavies. E100, I would always use a gun rammer over vents if I'm using the 128mm gun. If I'm using the 150, I'd probably go for vents over a gun rammer because of the alpha damage difference. Kampfpanzer, I'm always going to use a gun rammer because this is a DPM focused tank. However, the others, like the Panzer 7, this one's right on the cusp of where I think vents are a gun rammer. This is like the transition point. 560 alpha and the poor DPM on this tank is the transition point. I do have a second build with a gun rammer where I drop the turbo. You know, that's the beautiful thing. Heavy tanks, they don't need vision system because they can't use it. So that gives you a lot of freedom to change your builds. Just because you see me have my default build as, and for example, Jagdtiger, I'm going to have a gun rammer on this vehicle instead of vents, but I'm actually going to have a second build with camo rating for when I need to be able to play at long range. So it depends on the DPM of the tank as well. It depends on the DPM of the tank. Like, for a Jagdtiger, this thing has crazy damage per minute. It's one of the most important aspects of the tank. So, because the DPM is such an important aspect on the Jagdtiger, you want to do everything that you can to improve the DPM. So I'd use a gun rammer over vents. Do I use a gun rammer on the 122TM? No. I have one build with a gun rammer, one build with the 122TM. I have one build which is gun rammer vents turbo for aggression, but my main build that I use is actually vert stabs with vents and coated optics on the 122TM, because the gun handling is more important to hide your weak points than it is to reload quicker, in my opinion. The beautiful thing is that everybody could play the game however the hell they want. Vents are the equivalent of taking half an aiming device, a third of a gun rammer, like a third of coated optics, as well as boosting everything else. It's almost like taking a third of a turbo. Well, more like about a quarter of a turbo with the ground resistances. Just decide on how you want to play the game. Certain tanks, certain statistics are more important, and just having one build for all vehicles doesn't make sense. Let me clarify that camping attack is not talking at all correctly. They say that 10% DPM is just cracked because you're not taking into account that vents will improve the DPM by 3%. So your gun rammer is only improving DPM by 7% at the cost of 3% of everything else about the tank. Remember that vents increase your DPM by 3% with regular vents, and it's actually up to 4% with bond vents, okay? So you will get maybe like 9.5% increase DPM with bond vents versus bond rammer, but that's at the expense of 4% of everything else. 3% is such a minimal increase, it's barely noticed. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, premium consumables, they're only a 5% increase to your overall statistics. So that's barely noticeable, right? So why does everybody use them then? Because it's a barely noticeable difference, correct? Barely noticeable. Barely noticeable. Premium consumables only 5%, guys. It's barely noticeable. Premium consumables are 10%. Jesus, listen to yourself. You don't even understand basic game mechanics, and yet you're here trying to argue equipment build with Uncle Quickybaby, who knows everything. You don't understand that 10% crew skill only gives you less than half of that with the actual benefit, my dude. So a food consumable says 10% crew skill, but that doesn't make you fire 10% quicker, okay? Just like vents say 8.5% crew skill for bonds, but they don't give you 8.5% rate of fire. Otherwise, nobody would use gun rammers instead of vents at all, right? So you don't even understand your own thinking before you come to this discussion. Thus, I'm giving you one last chance. drop it if you don't know what you're talking about and move on, okay? Because you're derailing the conversation, probably because you're just trolling at this point. And this is your last chance. Simple as that. Alright, let's see if we can clap this E100 at the back. I'm going to switch out to gold here. It's just a boring conversation I've had with so many times. It's not even a conversation anymore when you don't even know basic game mechanics. I can go fight the C100, I think. I can pen his turret very easily. Oh, that's a bit of a kicker. Oh, man, how does that ricochet? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. See, my aim time and my accuracy off. I actually missed that shot. Would I have hit that with vents? Maybe. Genuinely. Now, I wouldn't have reloaded 7% quicker, but I'm missing shots now that maybe I would have hit if I'd had the 3% better aim time and 3% better accuracy. So, what's better? To have the raw brutality or the consistency? Well, it depends on the engagement, right? If I'm fighting close quarters combat and I can always pen my shots, then I don't need the consistency. But actually, in that fight, I wish I had the consistency and not like the overall raw firepower. So is the 7% rate of fire actually going to benefit me the extra time that it takes that I have to aim because my accuracy is worse in this kind of situation? Like, here's the thing. There's so much to consider in World of Tanks that there's never one piece of equipment that's better in every scenario. Usually. You're making, you're taking chances, and you're making decisions. Oh, God. Where's my intuition now? Oh, God, look at this guy aiming for me here. Oh, oh, this was ugly. Why are they even aiming at me? They're getting shot in the butt by like 6 different vehicles. Like, come on, my douche. Low roll. Please kill him. Fair he did. 3,000 damage is disappointing. So, yeah. You still don't really understand the 5 and 10% thing from the premium consumable. Can you mind explaining that again? Sure, but this is stuff that you can read on just what wiki. But I will explain it to you. So, cruise skill in World of Tanks that you get from a variety of sources. Vents, premium consumable, brothers in arms, and also your commander boost that goes to your other crew members, does not result in the same improvement. Okay, so for example, I can show you this. My commander on this tank, I have to just mouse over him, I guess, right? Like if I mouse over him, the commander is at, do you see it explains it all? The commander, it doesn't actually say the commander's percentage unless you add it up now. The commander is at 115%. Okay, but if I mouse over the gunner, it says he's at 127%. Okay, because do you see how it says commander's bonus? All right. Funnily enough, if I put vents, that's actually going to boost the commander's bonus up. Ah, no, it has to be bounty vents. Ha, that's interesting. I think it has to be bounty vents. So if I go over to, what have I got like fancy vents on?
Super Conq.
My Chinese tank? BZ-75? No? Have I got fancy vents on? I'm trying to think of the perfect tank to show you. Do I have it on my Super Conqueror?
Yes.
Okay. Why does it still say the commander's bonus is 12? That's lying. What about if I put a directive on? Now the commander's bonus is 13. Interesting. Hold on, we can actually figure out the total bonus as well. Total bonus 39. If I demount this, the total bonus is 35 point 35.5. But this is only meant to give 2.5%. So if this is 2.5%, but it goes from 35.5 up to 39, that's actually gone up by 3.5%, because the commander has actually gone over the rounding percentage. I always said this, but somebody gaslighted me and told me that's not how the mechanics works. And I know now that they're not correct. So, anyway, commander's bonus is at 26. If I demount this, it's at 25. Yeah, so I got gaslighted one time in a YouTube comment, and whoever that was, fuck you very much. I was right. Kiss my ass, okay? It even says in the game. So, okay. So let me explain this. All right. Let me explain this. My commander's bonus is 23.5%. That sounds weird. But that's 123% total. So he's going to give 12% bonus to the rest of the crew. So their bonus is actually 35.5. But here's the thing. Okay. The 35.5 does not mean that my loader is going to reload 35.5% faster. It's actually slightly less than divided by 2. Okay? So my loader is going to reload about 17% faster compared to if I didn't have the vents, I didn't have the pudding, I didn't have the brothers, and my commander wasn't in the vehicle. And I guess I could kind of show you this. If I send my commander to the barracks, that's not actually correct. It's still calculating this as if it had the commander's bonus. This isn't correct. 3,360. This isn't correct. It's that simple. The commander's bonus will be providing more than that. The commander's bonus will be providing way more than that. This number's actually incorrect. Wargaming's UI doesn't update in the way that it's actually meant to update. I digress. I'm trying to highlight a point here, and that is that the total bonus that you get is not like a 35% rate of fire increase. Otherwise, no one would use a gun rammer, right? If that was the case, vents would be better than absolutely everything. Your raw crew skill qualification gives just under half of that as a bonus to everything about the vehicle, pretty much. Okay? So Brothers in Arms, it's not a 5% DPM increase. It's like a 2.5% DPM increase. The premium consumable, it's not a 10% DPM increase. It's like a 5% DPM increase. Okay? The vents, it's not an 8.5% DPM increase. It's about a 4% DPM increase. Okay? But here's the crazy thing. The vents actually increase your commander's bonus because it rounds to the nearest percentage. So if I was to drop the vents off here, don't worry, I'm not paying. The commander's bonus is now 12. But if I was to lose the premium consumable as well, the commander's bonus is now 11. So it's pretty wild to think that if I use at least bounty vents, if not bond vents, okay, my commander's bonus to the rest of the crew is still 11, okay, but if I use the vent purge as well, it'll now be 12 without a premium consumable. But then I use the premium consumable and it'll go up to 13 now. That's crazy. That's a huge bonus. So what people don't understand about the vents as well, that they're not taking into account, is when you really want to sweat and you want to use the vent purges as well, the vent purges actually give all of your crew apart from the commander 3.5%, which is actually like 1.75% to everything for your crew, including the rate of fire. So a vent purge versus the orderly ammo rack, this will actually do about 2%, well, just under like 1.75% rate of fire. This does 2.5, but this does 1.75 to everything else about your vehicle. Because you've also got to take into effect the way that your commander provides bonuses. So there you go. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone now. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. That the game isn't as simple as, oh, just whack one set of equipment on all of your vehicles. Because, as we saw in that Jagdtiger game, I missed a few of my shots. Would I have hit them with vents? Maybe. But if I was close quarters combat, I don't need vents. I just need the rate of fire. I hope this all makes sense. And you all need to consider what is right for your playstyle. Still didn't answer the order of calculation.